This will be a very lengthy video, and I ask that anyone who wants to watch this, please watch when you have the time. I also ask that anyone who's made it even this far into the video, please check the description because this is the most important part. These links lead to documents that I want you to view in the case that someone tries to silence me or abuse the system here on YouTube and take down this video. I normally don't make videos like this. I never have, and I don't want to, but these guys are having their lives ruined, and they don't really have a platform to speak up about it because everywhere they go, they're being silenced, or there's not enough people listening. So here, they have a platform, and I hope that you guys will listen. So in this video, we're going to go over how ReadyUp Studios, the company that appears to be behind the Kickstarter MMORPG known as Oath, and I say appears because there's some odd things about the ownership. This company hired a small indie team of 5 individuals to be the artist and to help develop the game. Since then, they have pretty much destroyed this indie team and everything that they've built over the last few years in a matter of a few months. There has been information put out there to expose Oath, but that information is always quickly silenced. Ocean Spark Studios, the small team of indie devs, has made a 43-page document that again is linked below. And in this video, I'm going to summarize what has happened to this team and just this situation, but keep in mind that when I do summarize it, this footage is before jumping into call with Ocean Spark Studios and finding out more to this story. And then there's going to be a 30-minute call where I sit down and talk with the team and let them explain everything. And then afterwards, I guess I will share my thoughts on the situation. So for this video, get yourself familiar with these 2 names. ReadyUp Studios, the creators behind the Kickstarter MMORPG Oath, and Ocean Spark Studios, the art team hired by ReadyUp to bring most, if not all, of the game to life. Recently, Ocean Spark Studios came forward to the community that ReadyUp has not been paying them for their work, a total of £6,000 as we speak. Ocean Sparks requested to be paid and was met with silence, followed by ReadyUp trying to silence the devs themselves. This included ReadyUp blocking the art team from being able to visit the game servers. They also banned them from Discord. And all of this happened after ReadyUp previously asked if they could pay Ocean Sparks at a later date, back in September, when they were owed their original monthly payment of £4,000, which if you ask me is already a red flag. As this was brought to light, a few members of the community were concerned. People in the Discord were asking questions. ReadyUp, specifically Steven, was responding to these concerns, telling people that everything's okay. Everything's still on track. The game is still in development. Ocean Sparks, the studio, the devs, they were overreacting and made this situation more than it is. So I myself was pretty much told the same exact thing when I went into the Discord and asked, what the fuck is going on after hearing about this? So ReadyUp then put out a statement explaining why they fired these artists and ended the contract with Ocean Spark Studios. This statement explains that it was over a grass asset. So to sum it up, Ocean Spark Studios is a company that has developed their own games and assets from the ground up. This company has a decent history over the last few years that can easily be found with a quick Google search. Now, Ocean Sparks was asked to design grass for the game, but needed to reference or source a script from a grass asset off the Unreal Engine store to get the animation for the grass blowing in the wind. So, after designing the grass asset but referencing some code from an Unreal Engine asset to get the proper animation, ReadyUp claims that they bought the grass asset off the Unreal Engine store and claimed it as their own. ReadyUp hires an art team to develop their game. Doesn't pay them for the month of September without any explanation. Doesn't pay them for the beginning of October without explanation. And finally, once the art team speaks out, ReadyUp puts out a statement saying that this art team misled them and purchased an asset and claimed it as their own. Now, Ocean Sparks has a ton of evidence, receipts, and documents to prove this false. And even in the case that this was true, there should be no reason this situation was handled so unprofessionally. Like, this entire thing gets far worse, and we will get to that later in this video. Keep in mind that this event also happened after Ocean Sparks put out this video.
Currently owed £4,000 for September, which we've done a full month's work for them, declined other contract, and they've not paid us, claiming something today about breaking the contract or something, but they're not telling us what. So obviously us turning down contracts means we now don't have the work that we could have had, paying the bills, paying for everything. We've got people, families, staff, houses to pay for, and this has completely screwed us over. They technically owe us another 4k for this month because we've gone into contract with them as well, which we don't care about. We literally just want the money for the work we've done. We just wanted to make a message to basically say we're contacting Kickstarter. We need everyone else to try and contact Kickstarter ask for your money back because this game's not getting made. They have not got another art team, no matter what they're saying. We were the only people working on the art other than the other two from Discord.
That was then set to private after Steven from ReadyUp caught wind and requested that Ocean Sparks private the video, and they call a ceasefire until they hold a meeting to solve these issues privately, as they should have been done in the first place. So Ocean Sparks is to private their video while ReadyUp removes the statement that they made on their website about the grass asset. Now I was up and I watched all of this unfold, and something very odd happened. Ocean Sparks is based out of the country, out of the US. So they're in a different time zone, and when they would normally be asleep, ReadyUp republished the statement that they made. And this was really fucking odd because it came off as some sort of war tactic. It was very scummy. Why would you republish this after calling a temporary truce until you solve the matters privately? It just made no sense. Ocean Sparks still stuck to their word and kept their video private. They ended up getting in touch with Steven, obviously, and both of them decided they would handle this privately over a call. The meeting was scheduled a few days out, maybe a week ahead. So this video that I'm making right now, I put on hold because I wanted to wait for this call. Maybe they can solve the issue. Maybe they can get paid, and I don't need to make this video. If Ocean Sparks doesn't want anyone speaking about it and wants to just take the slander but get their money and continue doing what they're doing, fine. But that didn't happen. So the time finally came for the two companies to speak, and of course, excuses were made by Steven, and he never showed up. All while being active in his Discord and letting people know that the game will continue development and that a new art team was hired. Now, him saying a new art team was hired and all that isn't necessarily happening at the timing that this meeting was supposed to be happening, but Steven was definitely active. He had, 3 days to a week to prepare for this call. As someone who has this company on contract and is paying £4,000 a month, you would think that someone would have the decency to at least have a phone call over this issue, but the fact that this happened in the first place, where someone decides to block all communication with a company they owe £6,000, is surreal to me. And then over time, people are panicking. People are attempting to charge back and get refunds. And as you can see here, Steven is aware, and he's trying to calm the people, such as this screenshot. We saw you open a dispute on PayPal. Any reason for it? Ocean Spark was saying some stuff out of anger, and most of it wasn't true. They since removed the video they uploaded too. Yeah, they did remove the video, and you agreed to remove the statement, and then you republished the statement about Ocean Spark Studios. They did not say things out of anger. Well, maybe it was out of anger, but also out of fear of their studio going down the shitter, and I don't know, being owed £6,000 that pays them full time, that pays their rent for food, all while the head of the studio is taking a pay cut to pay his employees, all because you can't be a fucking human and get this shit settled. So Steven can assure people that, everything's fine, things will continue, but can't lock down a meeting with this company even with a few days ahead of time to plan all this. So there are a ton of red flags with this entire situation. The biggest flag, or flags that seem to scare backers, are the fact that Ocean Spark Studios has enough proof that shows ReadyUp really has no game without them. There's nothing, no foundation, no real blueprint, no real ideas. £4,000 a month to pay 4 or 5 individuals to work full time is not much for the current price of living as an adult along with bills. So mind you, these guys are already working for not that much money. And not only is this company behind, but they focus their work on this game. So without this pay, and with pushing off other jobs and contracts to focus on Oath, their studio is currently in shambles. And with Zach, the head of Ocean Spark, as I said, he's taking a cut of his own pay to pay his employees. You can only imagine the stress levels, the lack of sleep, the anxiety that this would cause a small team of devs. And not only are they not being paid for their work, but they're being slandered and having their reputation damaged over misinformation. So to sum it up, the easiest way to put this, there's a YouTuber. He wants a new profile picture, so he commissions an artist. This artist charges $100. The artist does the work before the YouTuber pays and says, hey, you can pay when I'm done. The time comes around to pay that artist, and the YouTuber blocks the artist, blocks their number, doesn't respond to their emails, blocks them from Discord, blocks every form of communication with this artist, but takes the profile picture artwork and uses it. And then the artist finds other people to reach out to that know this YouTuber and say, hey, you guys need to see what's going on. This YouTuber pretty much robbed me. And the YouTuber catches wind of that and says to all the people, to their fan base, to their viewers, hey, you know that artist that is talking shit right now? That artist is a liar. They traced their work. And so now the artist is not getting their money, but they're having their reputation damaged. But in reality, the artist did not trace the work. They referenced pieces of other artwork for this profile picture, which is something that many professional artists still do till this day. For now, I'm going to have a call with Ocean Spark Studios, and I'm going to let them explain the situation a bit more in depth. So you guys may hear some things that I've already went over repeated. I'm sorry if this sounds like a broken record, but this way you can hear the purest form of it. I just thought that explaining it the best way I can with a summary in case this call gets all jumbled would be best for this video. And then afterwards, I will share my own thoughts.
Okay, so firstly, thanks for, I guess, allowing us to explain the
Use your
situation.
Yeah, no problem.
And giving us a bit of a platform to speak on, because up to this point, anything that we've said has like kind of either been removed from Discord or Reddit or whatever. And like, you know how it is when you've got a big audience like Oath, generally they'll say something and everyone will believe it, and we just haven't, thanks for giving us an outlet to be able to speak about it, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
So essentially, yeah, we've got to this point. Basically, it's all come to light because of a lack of payment, say over the last 5 weeks, um, and really bad communication. So we've been working on the Oath project since probably June, since we really started dedicating time to it, and the back and forth with payments and getting us set up on the project and whatever. And honestly, up until the beginning of, say, September, it was all going really, really well. Even throughout September, there was never really any indication that things weren't right. And it wasn't until I started, because I do a lot of the company's finances, and I'm the one who generally sends the invoices and, chases the money or whatever. It wasn't until I started applying a little bit of pressure to Stephen and asking him where this money was that it was quite clear that we were being met with either no responses or a load of excuses, which you can see in that document anyway. So essentially, based off of that, I believe this is where this issue has been brought up about us, stealing this grass or adding some grass to the project that we weren't supposed to. We've been really transparent. I think we've been as transparent as we can be about the fact that we already had this stylized foliage pack as part of our kind of assets as a studio. You know how it is, and I'm sure a lot of game developers will back us up, right? And that if you see something really good on a marketplace, something you can learn from as artists and developers, and something that's got either good reviews or looks good in engine, either when there's an Epic Games sale on, or something catches your eye, generally you'll probably buy it because you think, oh, that'd be cool, we can use it in a project later, or we can learn from it. And essentially that pack is something that we bought in June, wasn't even intended to be used in Oath. We were using it for one of our internal projects, as we've mentioned in the document. And basically, Stephen asked us to produce grass, just like that was in his Kickstarter video, which is essentially just waving grass. It's grass that kind of waves backwards and forwards, and it just looks like it's got a bit of wind running through it. When he asked us to do that, he said, is it something you guys can do, or is it something you need us to do, and whatever. And up to this point, we hadn't really had much communication from them. We hadn't really seen what they were capable of. They hadn't given us any insight into, their programming capabilities. We'd kind of been left out on our own. So we just kind of said as a team, yeah, we can probably try and handle that. Let's see if it's something we can do. And we always have team discussions about stuff. We're a 5-person team. If any work comes in, if anyone's skill set is better than someone else's, we'll always say, guys, what do you think? Can anyone handle this? You know how it is in game development. And essentially, we already had this pack. Someone said, there's a wind shader we've used before, and we've learned a lot from it. We already have it as a pack. Why don't you import it into the project and take a look? Which is exactly what we did. It details it all in the document that we've put forward here. We were only using that pack to see if what we were doing was the correct way of doing it, essentially. Nothing we ever had. We didn't buy that pack for Oath. We bought that pack way before we were asked to do anything to do with the grass for Oath. It was something that we owned as a studio because we felt it was good. And essentially, we use that pack to reference from, right? Just like artists do. If you're not quite sure how to do something or to achieve a look, it's pretty normal to open up someone else's work and be like, all right, cool, this is how they've done it. Like, that's how it is with blueprints. A lot of people share their blueprints around. There's a lot of tutorials on there. There's a lot of free stuff you can download. We just happened to have this one, so we opened it up and had a look. And essentially, working from that, we developed our own materials and textures and meshes to basically get a very similar look for the grass because we liked what it looked like. Now, obviously, as you can see in that document, we were working from a repository called Perforce. So essentially, when anything's added to a project or different artists are working on different machines, you can submit all your work through a repository called Perforce, and it allows all the team members to be able to download that work. Everyone's working from the same kind of working copy of the game, and you can all have a look at what everyone's done throughout the day. So that includes the guys at ReadyUp, because obviously they're in America, we're in the UK. So at the end of every day, we'd commit all our work or whatever we'd been working on so they could take a look, test it out if they wanted to. Now, on this one circumstance, it's the only mistake we've made, and it's in our eyes, a very minor mistake. Essentially, because we had the foliage pack in there, rather than, but essentially we missed a file, right? So when you commit to Perforce, you can commit the files that you've been working on, and generally you push them all up together, right? So the grass would have been pushed with the materials and the meshes and everything all up together. Now, Stephen brought it to my attention coming towards the end of September. It was the 17th of September that the grass was missing a material. Now, we have to hold our hands up here and be honest that, like, yeah, we made a mistake. We didn't check our commit properly. And unfortunately, the commit that we pushed to rectify this was actually the material from the bought stylized pack rather than the one that we'd set up ourselves. Genuine mistake. You guys can clearly see it in the document that we also have our own materials alongside that. We've made a ton of foliage, grass, stuff that's way more complicated than the grass, which is why we're kind of really disappointed that they're saying that we've stolen these assets and that we've had to use them, because they're almost making out that we're incapable of providing our own content. And everything up to this point we have made, it's been completely bespoke. We've spent hours, we've put so many hours into the artwork for Oath, which is why it's so disheartening to see that they're kind of trying to discredit that by saying that we've stolen assets.
I mean, on top of that, the way that they're phrasing it comes across as they've basically been paying us to create all these assets, and we've bought them all.
Yeah, that's the
This is
impression
how
I
it
was
comes
under.
across with it. And to people who don't know us or haven't heard our side of the story because they've blocked all communication of ours, there's no way of us being able to show people like that is not true. This is clearly just something that got missed and didn't get flagged to us. It would have literally taken, like, as the document says, 30 seconds to revert it and click on the correct material. That's literally all it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worst part for me, in that Stephen didn't bring this to light until I think it was the 3rd or 4th of October. And given that that grass had been in there, albeit maybe the wrong file, it had been in there then for 2 weeks, in which we continued to work on these assets. They hadn't brought it to our attention. We were still working really, really hard to try and get this video out that they promised the Kickstarter backers in October. So we're kind of slogging away and trying our very best. All the while, when I'm asking about payments, he's just giving me different excuses. You know, Ethan's ill, or Ethan's missed a flight, or, oh, they thought the money had been sent. Have we not received it? And they knew full well the money hadn't been sent. They knew full well that they were probably holding off until October to bring anything to our attention so that they could basically use this as almost a way to get out of pain. That's what it looks like to me. They were almost waiting for us to trip up at any moment. And as game developers, we work with a load of outsourcers. We trust loads of people to come and work with us and work alongside us. And those people do make mistakes. And you know what we do when they make a mistake? We literally chat to them. We say, guys, this isn't the right to us. Any chance you can change it? And that is all they had to do. If they genuinely, and what it seemed like, they were pleased with our work, they only ever gave us good feedback. And if they genuinely valued us as part of the team that were working really hard to get the game together, all they needed to do was to turn around and say, guys, I think you might have checked the wrong file in here. In which case we'd have just said, yeah, you know what, you're right. Here's what's happened and here's the correct one. We had it made. It was there. It was good to go. but we didn't know we'd checked the wrong file. And this was like, we're talking like 2, nearly 3 weeks between the time they bring it up and then not being paid. So it's left us in a really, really difficult position. And as you guys all saw, we got banned off Discord. The lack of communication from Stephen, I mean, you can see it in the document. He said we'd breached the contract, but he said he can't tell us anymore. Like, he couldn't tell us why. And it took me a long time to get it out of him.
Not only that, but just how bizarre the whole situation is with this other studio that's linked to it, and the fact that there's this Stuart Bedore name coming up for both of these studios. It's as if what's happened is Ready Up Studios has just been built to get Kickstarter money. That money is going to get put into this other studio, and no one's going to be able to do anything about it because it's as if they're paying someone when actually it's paying themselves. It's
Yeah.
so strange.
For them to hold on to that information about the grass and then use it on you in October, it definitely seems like some type of tactic to let you guys go without paying you. I mean, the first huge red flag is seriously just like banning you guys from Discord and communication. It's like the most unprofessional thing I've ever seen in my life. And it had me like thinking this is ran by a 19-year-old or something.
Yeah, I agree. That's the biggest thing for me is the way that it's been handled, to be honest, because everyone's entitled to make mistakes. And you know what? If they wanted to have turned around in a professional way and say, look, guys, it was a mistake. We've seen that it was a mistake. We're so sorry, but unfortunately, we're going to have to cut ties. Let's end this really well. We love the work that you've done up to this point. Let's pay you for what you've done. But unfortunately, this is where the journey ends. Do you know what? We'd have taken that on the chin and we'd have been like, yeah, okay, thank you for the opportunity type thing. But instead, the way they went about it, it was just seemed so unprofessional and almost like they were trying to provoke a reaction out of us. Because I can't get my head around how they thought this was going to unfold in any other way. Like, surely by banning the art team and kind of putting messages out there that we'd stolen assets and whatever, did they genuinely not think we were going to react like this? Because I'm trying to work out in any other scenario how we could have reacted. Because
I
I
mean,
think
there's the other people who have been banned in the past and had their Reddit post deleted, and that's all been brought to light by other people. So apparently, there were all that news about them not actually being a proper company before running the Kickstarter, and all that happened, and they got banned and silenced. And it seems like what they do in their Discord is anyone who has something that's legit to say, they'll silence them, they'll ban them, they'll remove the message, and they'll keep it so that what they want people to hear is heard rather than
yeah,
the truth behind it. I mean,
yeah,
before I don't want to run out of time, I kind of want to just hit on everything here. And I know like one of the biggest things about us wanting to come out about this is the fact that this is an MMORPG that they have no idea about. Literally, within the document we've put in there, the favorite quote here from Stephen is just pick one of the grass areas on any of the islands and start from there, I guess. What is that all about? You do not build an MMORPG and just say, yeah, just pick somewhere and go for it. Like what? There's no kind of story there. There's no lore. What creatures are in this area? What leveling zone is it? Like, does everyone spawn here? Is there traders? Is there a town? There is so many questions when it comes to an MMO. People want this to be an immersive experience, and as somebody who plays MMOs quite a lot and has done in the past, I know how important it is to have that kind of knowledge and lore behind it, let alone just giving it to an external company saying, make our game, there you go, and just having kind of no idea about what you're actually doing with it. It just seems so bizarre. And I know he came out and mentioned something about we don't have the right to see the GDD. We never wanted the GDD. We wanted some very, very simple questions answering so that we could create the game in their
It's so
vision.
bizarre as the guys who are pretty much developing the game to not give you like the information you need
Anything.
and then say like they don't have the rights to see it, but like you should still give them a direction to go in. And
Yeah.
yeah, would you guys say that he titled it like something like it was a depot or some shit?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
basically when we first started on the project, like we're used to working with teams, small teams, big teams, got teams in different areas of the world. So usually we have some sort of repository set up, whether that be using Perforce, which is the kind of go-to Unreal one, or SVN or whatever. And they set us up with Perforce logins initially and basically said to us, just start with a blank project. Just start with a blank project in Unreal. You guys add your assets in there and push them up. And essentially, when we get them on our side, we'll put them into our level. When I was chatting to the team, I said, well, it's a little bit strange, but I kind of understand, if they're wanting a complete overhaul, maybe they don't want us to be kind of influenced by some of the stuff we might see in their older world. They might want us to have a completely fresh slate. But at some point, I was expecting a little bit of gameplay. I mean, you can see in that document how often I asked for the character. Just to be able to run through this world, right? I'm building out a world. I need to know how fast the character runs, how high they can jump, can they crouch, what kind of areas can they fit in when I'm setting up collisions on these objects. And it took me a long, long time to get this out of them. And even when they sent me the character, they hadn't hooked up the code for the character, which was really alarming to me because if you know what you're doing, it's a 5-minute job. I mean, I'm an artist and I even hooked it up. So basically they sent through a character and we had to kind of hook it up. They didn't tell us the jump height or anything. Now, for people who aren't familiar with the Unreal Engine, you can basically set all these when you're setting up a character, but generally you decide on this in the game, kind of what's the standard jump height of the character beforehand. So you can, when you're filling out the world, like I say, characters can jump on things, or some players may have abilities, to be able to double jump or jump a little bit higher. And these are like really important factors when you're creating the world. And again, none of it was answered. Essentially, the biggest bit of direction I ever got was something like, oh, can you please just leave a lot of flat land for players to be able to build on?
Which in turn made us question, how does player building actually work? Do the trees get cut down, and then what if somebody builds over the stump, because apparently we're meant to fade away and whatever, or trees will randomly spawn? It's like, what does that even mean? What do you mean trees are going to randomly spawn? How does this player building work? And I'm not being funny, but if you look on page 6 of the PDF, like, he said around 20 to 30 minutes per island it will take to run from one side to
Yeah,
another.
I saw that.
If you take something like World of Warcraft, that's not even one zone. Like,
That's
to
that's
get
the
from
full
level
map as
1,
well, right? That's the
yeah,
full
yeah.
map.
So that's per island, 20 to 30 minutes per island. And then the question below, like, this is stuff that we needed. I cannot, if anyone is reading this and does not understand, I mean, number 6 we put on there, is there anything specific on the islands, objectives for players, hero pieces, etc.? Anything we need to keep in mind at the moment? No.
Yeah, it's the most fucking small talk, bland response you could
What does-
receive.
And
It's so bizarre.
they were paying us to create their world map, and that is the information that we were given. And they expect people to believe that they have an idea about what they're doing. I'm saying they like it's not one person. At this point, the only person defending them is Stephen. And there's this CEO. I don't know if you've seen into it at all, but it's so bizarre how there's this 2 companies, and the CEO is somebody called Stuart. And the way, so the PayPal people have been requesting the money back, and the messages they've been getting back are coming from this other company, which has made them question, who is this? Which, yeah, I mean, what the hell? If we released something and somebody wanted to request a refund, it would come back as us because we have one studio. But Steven's telling people in his Discord that they make a company per game, and that's just how it works in the industry. And I mean, what? How does that work? And why would you make a company for every game that you make? It's so bizarre. Going back to what Helen was saying about how they were expecting us to do the more programming side of stuff, I mean, did you touch on the level streaming stuff, Helen, yet? Because
I
that
mean,
is...
yeah, level streaming basically speaks for itself. Level streaming and stream out. It's something that Unreal Engine's getting really good at. Kudos to Unreal for that, by the way. But essentially, a game of this size, you can't have a persistent world that's loaded in all the time. It's just not viable, graphics wise and optimization wise. So, level streaming is something that you have to think about before you even start a project. And generally, when you've got a map of the size of Evervale that they provided to us, you'd know which portion of the map you'd already know which portion you were making for the alpha, number one, and you'd already have a really good plan of how that portion of the map was going to be level streamed. For us to ask about level streaming so far on in the development of Oath, and for them to not have it set up is really worrying. because it's not, well, you can set it up afterwards, but it would take you a long time because
This is something
essentially,
they've said they've been working on for 2 years, right? They've told people that before Kickstarter, they've been programming. All they've done is program for 2 years, which is why the Kickstarter was all meant to be for the art. But if they've been programming for 2 years, they would have level streaming set up. They'd have all
oh
of
yeah,
the stuff ready. They'd have the characters in place using a mannequin model. Then all they'd have to do is swap out the model that's in there. There's no
yeah,
way
yeah.
that what they've currently got is 2 years worth. We were asking for the most basic things that just wasn't being given to us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, level streaming is not the most difficult thing to set up, but you do have to know how to do it, right? It's not something you can buy. You can't buy like a level streaming kit from the Epic Games Store. Um, so you have to kind of have an idea how to do it, but you also have to do a lot of prep work going, leading up to it. Because essentially you have to like make the world into smaller bite-sized chunks, make sure it all fits together. And as you can see, it's something that they didn't have. And essentially, we offered, maybe we can take a look at it for you guys. Like it wasn't part of our services, but again, we knew that it was something that the project needed, and we didn't pay for it. Yeah, they didn't pay for it. Sorry, so we didn't charge for it. Um, we spent basically a week. We pulled ourselves off making assets, and instead we focused on setting up level streaming, splitting up the map into a grid-like system, working out which part of the map we were going to work on for the alpha. So we were really, honestly, we were going so far above and beyond to try and
Oh
create
yeah, I mean,
something.
we were getting paid at that point. Well, I mean, we weren't even getting paid for that bit. We literally decided to sit down. There were three of us at the time looking at this map and saying, right, okay, they've told us to pick an area. How is this going to work? And we had to literally use maths to calculate how many cubes will make each island up, so we can determine how many meters away each cube needs to be, so that it'll load and pop in and pop out in a nice, smooth way. We did all of the maths behind it all to make it work and then set it up for them. That is a programmer's job, and the art team was doing that. Why?
Yeah. It's like you guys were pretty much making the entire game from what it seems. 2 years of stuff they've been working on, but they don't have shit to show for it.
And yeah, there were times where we'd be asking questions, they just wouldn't give us any answers to it. And there were times where I were on visual effects mainly, and I was sat there waiting, asking them, come on, guys, you're paying for this package, but you're not utilizing me for spells, environment effects. Tell me what you want. Like, I've created sandstorms for you and little things like that. But do you want this? And there were just no responses to any of it, which is, so I never pushed that up, thankfully, because it were all on my side of the server. So I could see it all in the project, but I didn't push it to their side because I wanted to withhold on that until I were getting responses about what they wanted putting in for the video and that kind of stuff. One of the things that is really like stand out for me on this document after just scrolling through it is this little GIF that they've released. They've made it look huge, but if you go to page 20 on the PDF, you'll see that we've actually taken a screenshot, and everything in there is what currently exists. This is where the video's taking place. What they've done is they've taken it from angles where you can't see outside of this area, and that from the top where the fight in the crab area is, all the way through to the little woodlandy bit, that took me 40 seconds to run through earlier. I literally ran it earlier to test how long it took,
Yeah.
because they're implying to people that they've got this huge alpha ready for December and everyone's going to be able to join a server and play together. And how many people are going to realistically fit there? You can see they've put 2 players next to the bridge, and you've seen how big that bridge is on the map there. Like, how many people do they think it's going to fit in here, and how are they going to blend that into the environment in the background where there's just chunks of landscape?
There was two of us in particular working on that, the map as you can see it now, and that includes things like sculpting the landscapes, creating the materials and the textures to then paint the landscapes. And we really wanted the transition between like the grassy areas and the beach to feel really nice. Um, Honestly, that's at least 5 weeks work, and that includes creating some filler assets to get in there. I mean, you can see the list of assets that we've detailed that are still unpaid for. There's a ton of stuff that's gone into that as it is now. And given that, I mean, we're coming up to mid-October, and an alpha release date in December, fair enough, they might not release at the beginning of December. They might push towards Christmas, but we're still probably only about 2 months away from something they need to release. I honestly cannot see how they're going to create a world that keeps the same quality of what we've been delivering, but that's also big enough, as Zach says, to be able to include all the players in this alpha and give the experience that people are expecting.
Not
Because
only that, but the discounted price that we give them on top of how much work we put in for them is
Right.
just so unrealistic. Like, we were working at a discounted price because we wanted to have this for a long time. We thought that we could develop this game with these guys for a long, long time. It's an MMO. There's going to be what, a year to 2 year of development. We wanted to be a part of that for at least a year to be able to create this really cool island, just keep pumping away at the art. But instead, we've just been met with this, which obviously wasn't expected at all.
So,
yeah.
what's like the state of Ocean Sparks right now? Like, what happened after these events unfolded?
Right. So, I mean, it's been pretty bad. I'm the financial director at the company, and unfortunately, I made the decision to trust these guys, somewhat against what my other colleagues had been saying. They were saying, look, it seems really weird that they haven't paid you, haven't paid us even. Let's move on to something else. Unfortunately, I was really invested in the project itself. I kept the team going. You know, I was really keen to keep the Discord community active, and we were chatting a lot to everyone. And I said, we'll just give it a few more weeks and see what happens. In the meantime, we turned down one or two pretty decent, client contracts in the hope that we'd get paid, because as you can see, Stephen was just making excuses that, maybe Ethan was ill. So, and honestly, I thought the money would come at some point and that we'd be all right, and it was just, a blip like some companies do have. We haven't been able to recover from that, just to be brutally honest. Unfortunately, on Monday we had to let two members of staff go. There are kind of our programmer and our designer, because we just do not have the money in the bank to be able to pay them their wages. And although those guys were really keen to stay and said, it's not an issue, we can't put that on people. I don't want people to have no money. And ourselves as directors, we always paid ourselves last anyway. Any other developers listening, indie developers, or anyone who knows the indie game kind of industry, will know it's very hard as it is. It's really difficult some months to keep going, to find the client work, to also develop your own titles, to keep a really happy team. And this has more or less just kind of destroyed us, because I'm not going to lie, it's made me really, really ill. Trying to chase these guys down to pay us the money that we're owed and to try and communicate with them. They left us some nights on calls till midnight UK time, waiting to speak to them. And it's just had a really, really negative impact. So at this point, we don't actually think we're going to survive as a studio, to be honest. It's taken a really, really massive hit. Yeah, massive.
Because it's just so disappointing to know that there's people out there like us. We know people like us that grind so much to create an amazing product. They've got amazing ideas. They just don't have the funds to do it. So people like our studios reach out to these companies that have made money, have got money, who are needing art. So we do whatever we can to gain that reputation, to keep bringing in more work and keep bringing in that money and that flow of money. And it's just so disappointing to know that a company, or just this one person that seems to be the only person, is scamming everyone out of $120,000. If we had that kind of money with any of the projects we wanted to make, it would be absolutely flawless. And I know how amazing the product would be at the end of it. We've
Yeah.
been creating our own little demos for games for a long time now, but it's been very, very part time, some days, one day a week. But what we've done in that time with no money is miles ahead of what they've created, and they've got $120,000 to show for it, and that just seems to be going towards $6 animal packs or $8 spells on the marketplace, which every company will own when they're setting up placeholders. Not a successfully kickstarted company that's taken community money to create things specific to their game, their lore, their product. It's just
Yeah.
it just winds me up, and it upsets me to think that people are actually invested in this and think that it's a reality and it's all coming together. Because, not being rude to people who are in the games industry, but it's very easy for somebody to look on this from an outside perspective and think, wow, look what they've done in 4 months. They've got all these spells and all these creatures, and
But it's just
but
assets,
realistically,
placeholders bought
yeah,
from.
and
Yeah.
it comes with their own animations. It comes with the spells attached, and all they've done is dragged it into a project. I could do it now. I could go download something, drag it into a project, and record it out in 5 minutes, and say, "Look what I've done in 2 months."
Well, they
And
got my
people
normie
would,
ass with it, because like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I'm no game dev. I've only messed with Unity, like building worlds and stuff for VR chat. But I do understand how like easily you can just drop in assets. Didn't even cross my mind. I just felt like this is one of my first times seeing a Kickstarter with actual gameplay, and Steven kind of
yeah.
had a way with words. The way he was talking, it was like, oh man, he's one of us.
We've actually never spoken to him.
Do you know what though? This is the thing from my perspective personally. I don't want this game to be a scam, right? I backed this with my own money before we even started working on the project.
Yeah,
Like
we've
this is the
already
most
said we love these kind of games. This is something that we'd play. We'd
yeah.
love to make a game like this, but we know that £120,000 isn't going to cut a MMORPG that has player building, farming, all this stuff that they were promising people. Like, yeah, we could go and make something like that and could get funding from it elsewhere in the future, but to promise an alpha in December is just unbelievable for what they're trying to make. Like, be realistic with people, because you've set yourself up to fail by giving such a short notice. Like, you saw on the document as well how they kept messaging us, pressuring us to prepare for this video, and it was just like, well, where's this video come from out of nowhere? And it's just like, yeah, we're making a video. Quick, we'll
Well,
throw
you
something
see,
together.
that is something I don't want to forget to mention, right? Stephen asked us to pause working on the project, kind of quite early on. I think it was in July. I think we'd only been working on it for a month.
Yeah, it were 1
And
month.
Stephen sent me a message saying, "Oh, do you mind if we pause the contract for a little while, just so we can get a video together that's going to make us more money?" So essentially, do you mind just waiting around and not taking on any more work so that we can put a video out there and get the backers to back us more, or to increase their donations? Um,
At this
and
point,
then
we're two
when we
months
get more
within the
money,
development, like
yeah, I know.
since
I
they
mean,
got
why?
kickstarted.
Yeah. So
Where's
this is a month,
120,000 gone?
right? That's exactly what I'm thinking. A month in, why do you need to pause when you've got 120k in the bank? Really? It makes no sense to me, that whatsoever. So in the end, they didn't pause, and I think it's. I mean, you can see what I wrote. I think it's because we literally said, "Look, we don't want to come off this project because it means we'll have to find other work, and we might not be able to return to it." You know, and that can be really disruptive to games as well. Trying to find an art team that can match the style or whatever that a previous team has done. So we're really aware of that, and that's why I was like, it's probably not a good idea to pause. And in the end, they didn't. But that was kind of a big red flag for me, because I was like, I cannot work out how in any way they will gain from pausing their art team, other than the fact that they have done something really weird with the money and they might not have it. That's literally all I can think that's happened. Um, and that what makes me wonder now, is that why we're not getting paid now? Because that pause that they wanted earlier, they didn't do, and the money's kind of run out and we're not getting paid now.
What about the whole fact that they told us to stop telling people the truth about them because they won't pay us until we take everything down? And it's like, well, no, pay us now, then we'll take stuff down and then we'll talk. But
Oh
every
man,
single time we
that
tried,
that was the most unprofessional thing ever. Can you guys take down your YouTube video, and we'll take down our statement on the website? Okay, yeah, sure, Stephen. And then we go off to bed, and they literally put it back up.
yeah. And he knew as well. He literally knew that the time difference was that's the time we were in bed. Post it and you can have it up for
I
the next
know.
8
I
hours
mean,
while we're asleep.
regardless of the situation or the arguments, that is just like the most
Snake.
snaky thing ever.
He's digging himself this hole because he keeps telling people on our side of the Discord that people have joined. He keeps telling them all this stuff, but then going against it. Like, I'm not in charge of PayPal, but then he's the one that's messaging about PayPal disputes.
Oh yeah, I got that screenshot where he's like, "Hey, I see you charged back." Ocean Sparks was just angry and put out a
Yeah,
video.
Yeah.
They've since
yeah.
taken it down.
I mean, angry. We've given them so much opportunity here. We haven't been paid since what? We're at the back end of August
August.
now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're owed for the full amount of September. Technically, we're still owed for October because they haven't legit ended the contract. He literally messages someone like, "Yeah, will you keep working on it if we can resolve it?" And it's just like, you could just pay us and be done with this now and move on. You don't need to mess around. If you've got the
Yeah,
money,
I know,
what's
but that's
easiest to do is pay
yes.
us and send us on our way.
That's what
Then
makes me
that's it.
think they don't have the money, because the easiest option in all of this, it doesn't take a genius to see, would have just been to resolve it behind closed doors, to pay us what we were owed, and to kind of part ways. And if you've got 120k in the bank, yes, £4,000 is a lot, but it's not £4,000 for nothing. They were getting some really, really high quality assets for that, and they'd have been able to use them for the video, no questions asked. Yes, we'd have been disappointed, but we wouldn't have kicked up a fuss, which just makes me question if they have the money at all.
What are you guys doing going forward? Like, are you going to try to get work? And this part's not going to be included in the video. It's just personal, but are you guys going to try to get more work or what?
I mean, at this point, it just feels like it's just one punch too much, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
it's hit us hard. It's meant that we've lost out on essentially 2 to 3 months of other work that's coming in. So Ellie's decided to just go and get a job in the industry now. So it kind of left me and Helen having to drop the 2 lads that we were working with. So it's left us in this spot now where we're left with all this IP that we've been working on for the last 2 years, and there's nothing we can do about it anymore because the team's essentially broken apart now, and there's no way out of it.
It took us a lot to build up our team. So myself, Ellie, and Zach we're all trained artists, right? So Zach's VFX, I'm environment art, and Ellie's character art with a bit of 3D prop or whatever. So the issue we've always had as a studio is because initially we never had kind of the programming side to our team, it meant we were really limited with the services we could offer, but also like the products we could develop in-house. So we kind of built up enough funds and enough kind of recognition within the industry in the UK. Like, we won a few awards. We really put ourselves out there. We really pushed as a business to gain enough funding to be able to hire the 2 kind of areas of the business that we've never been able to kind of do ourselves. One was programming and one was kind of level design and game mechanics. So we hired the 2 lads. We hired them straight out of university. Really, really liked them. Hired them. They started in May, and things were going really, really well. Like, I don't profess to be a business person. I never studied business. Neither did Zach. So it's always something we've been learning, like as we go with the studio, like over the last 3 years. But I don't think anything can really prepare you for kind of not being paid, and also trying to balance not being paid with chasing it, trying to secure enough work, keeping a happy team.
You guys still have never spoke to Steven before, right?
No.
Not at all.
So essentially, the night we were waiting up, so it was 11 p.m. UK time. He kind of confirmed an 11 p.m. call, but that it would be Ethan on the call and not
first
Steven.
of all, we confirmed it. We're about a 3 o'clock call. Something came up that day, and we said, right, something's come up. Is there any chance we can put this forward a few hours? So he then said 11 o'clock UK time. So we were like, all right, that's fine with us. We've had to reschedule it, but we'll do it tonight at 11. That's absolutely fine. And then that's when he just didn't turn up. Ethan didn't show up. He said that Ethan were going to be the only one in the call. Now, first off, like, how weird is that? Like, now me and Helen are doing everything because we're defending everything we stand for. Why is there only Steven that's talking at this point? Why is no one showing up to chat or talk? It's just so strange.
Yeah.
I mean, he told people that they hired another art studio, but then he messaged us privately and told us that it was just an animator they've hired.
Yeah, he messaged us privately and said, he basically said, can we resolve this and will you continue working on it? And basically I was like, there's no way we can. Yeah, I was like,
about the art team, and he said, the art team's just animator. And
wow.
Well, you just told everyone in your own Discord that you've got another art team working on it for 3 months. Yet why would you be asking us to carry on working on it?
Yeah, that's so true.
Constantly just shooting himself in the foot.
Like, what if the people hear this and want to do like a GoFundMe for you guys? Are you like against it, or?
I mean, we honestly don't want to take any money off anyone. At this
It's not their
stage,
responsibility.
honestly, £4,000 is not going to save us as a company. We've basically had to start, which is so sad. Like, I could cry thinking about it, but we've had to start like selling off our assets, you know, like our PCs, and because we owe like
Jesus.
we've got a lease on our studio, right? And you signed into a contract for a lease for so long, you know, these things happen, and we need to make sure that we owe the money to like, we're not going to do an oath. We owe people money. We get on really well with the people that own the building that we rent from. We want to make sure that we pay off our lease. We want to make sure that we've still got students to teach next week on the week after, because we run a little academy for kids. We want to make sure that we can really see through this whole week that they've booked off for the holidays to learn a little bit about the Unreal Engine. So honestly, at this stage, I really, as much as I'd love for people to get behind us, and as generous as that may be, I couldn't take any more money off anyone, because people have already given enough, I feel, for you know, and it's because of their money, it's because of people's money that we landed this contract in the first place, right? Because if this project didn't exist, we would never have landed the oath contract. There wouldn't have been that money there. So
he knows how much he's done us over here. Like, we've had to literally, we are losing our company because of a blade of grass.
If you don't laugh about it, you'll cry.
Previously, I did record, you know, an entire 15 minutes giving examples of how I relate to this story and just sharing my thoughts. But that was before hearing the entire thing, because I thought I knew the entire thing. But after getting into call with him, it's far worse than I expected it to be. I would have left out the part about the GoFundMe, because I know that could come off to some people seeming like they're asking for money. But I left that in there so that you can see that they are against making a GoFundMe. And she was very genuine about it. Afterwards, I pushed them more and more to make a GoFundMe in call and even in Discord messages, because as much as they don't want to do it, they really have no way to get back on their feet. 4K pounds will not save them at this point. They've started selling some of their equipment, so to get more work, to do more work, that's not really going to be possible. It's a really fucked situation. It's almost like everything you've built up, destroyed, and now you just have to go find another job immediately. Like, imagine me doing YouTube for 7 years and it gets destroyed overnight, and then it's like, fuck, I gotta go back to McDonald's, or I gotta go back to Target, or like I'm stuck scrambling finding my next check. Where's my next check going to come from? That's just an example. It doesn't completely relate to the situation, but they're still very against the GoFundMe at this point. I personally think that would help them, and I've even had a situation recently where a GoFundMe would have changed my own life with my father, but my pride would not let me ask my viewers, my friends, my supporters for money. I just don't feel right doing it. I'd rather work for it. That might be an issue. Pride is a fucking issue. And I told them, don't be like me. Just make this GoFundMe. So at this point, I don't know. I don't think they want to do it. I've pushed the boundaries of pushing that on them, and I'm not even that kind of person. But I understand where they're coming from, not wanting to ask for money, and being on the other side of it, where my pride, my personal pride, is not involved in their situation. I'm just like, listen, take this. It's clear what they want, and what they want is that they just want the people to know the truth behind this game. They want the backers who have been supporting it to know that this game really has no direction at this point. But what I want people to know is how shitty of a person, of a company, if it's a company, or a group of individuals are running this game. Because regardless, even if this team was to just buy an asset from the Unreal Engine store and use it as their own and lie about it, it was still handled so unprofessionally. Like, this is what someone fresh out of high school would be like if you gave them the keys to a business. Just running a business with no idea of how to do so. Things don't go their way, they just ghost you. They just rip up the contract and just fucking push you away like that works. People gotta eat, man. People got bills. They have lives. And if you can just easily cut someone off like that, you're extremely inconsiderate, and it's hard to even believe that you're fucking human. I know this might be a far reach, but Yang is someone I like watch all the time. I really enjoy the dude, and I feel like he covers stuff with a good opinion. Not even always with an opinion, just he puts the information out there for people to become aware of what's going on in the industry. And I feel like this is something that needs to be pushed by someone much bigger than me. So if you can get in touch with Yang, any of you, Send him this story. Him or someone else with a bigger reach needs to put this out there. That may be a dumb request of mine. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. If you made it to this point of the video, holy shit. Thanks for listening to this podcast. And I will catch you guys in the next video. See you soon, friends.